everyone, RogueGold here, and today we're doing a spoiler review talk for The Division Compromised, which if you're unaware is the latest novel to release within the Division universe and the Crossroads saga that came out last week. And I've been waiting so eagerly to do this video for so long. I got to read a review copy of the book a few months back, and ever since then I knew that this was going to be such a fun video to do because there's so many major and just huge things moving forward for the franchise that we have to talk about. Now, I will give a spoiler warning before we fully get into it, but one thing that I did want to touch on quickly was just to say that I know inevitably that some people are going to just listen to this spoiler talk, listen to the other, review I did on the book and not read this for themselves. And while I certainly can't and don't want to tell you to go and, read the book for yourself, I would ask that you at least consider, if you have any interest in the Division story or just these novels overall, please do get it for yourself. The book is out in ebook formats right now. It's releasing on paperback and audiobook a week from today. And the reason that I kind of implore you to get it for yourself is that the support of these novels is what gets further ones made. Right? And after this book, we need a third entry. We need one. There are too many major threads left unresolved. But my overall point here is Thomas Parrott, who writes these books, he's a fantastic guy. I did an interview with him that I will link down below. But not only do I believe that he deserves to be supported, but I think these stories and novels do as well. And so I really do hope that a lot of you will consider getting this book for yourself. Like I said, if you have any interest in the overall story or the stories themselves. But that's my spiel. I will leave links to everything down in the description below. I will leave one to Recruited, which was the first book in this series, Compromise, which is of course the latest entry, my non-spoiler review of the book that I did a few months back, and my interview with Thomas Parrott, the author, that I had recently, which was a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend you going and listening to that if you read the book and you have any interest in hearing some more grander thoughts on the matter. And I'll say one last time, if you're able to, please do get this and read it for yourself. But with all of that out of the way, here is your official spoiler warning for The Division Compromised. I waited a week after this was released to do this video, which might not be the most amount of time, but I have just been dying to talk about the events that take place in this book, and so that was the most you were going to get from me. So if you've not read The Division Compromised and you do plan to, then please click off. It is so worth reading through this and getting your own reactions to what goes down in this novel, and I would not want that to get spoiled for you, so this is your spoiler warning. Click off if you are going to. But without further ado, here we go. Starting with just the story as a whole, I enjoy this so much. I loved that we got the flashbacks with Colin to the events during the first wave in New York City. That was such a fun, not only change of pace for the story, but environment-wise. We've never seen a perspective like that, except now that we have the Division Resurgence taking place in a first wave setting, but to get this much detail about it was so cool. I love the biome and the environment of the Texan and Louisiana South in this. It was so cool. The Reborn as a faction, I love their ideology. I love the way that they played into the book, and it kind of subverted our expectations after that first confrontation with them at the oil rig. Like, it was just so awesome. And the continuation of the characters and the themes from Recruited here was just fantastic, in my opinion. Now, there are a few specific things that I really did want to get into here. The first being Anna. We finally got some usage of Anna, which obviously since Warlords of New York came out for the Division 2, we got the introduction to the idea that Anna is this identical AI, or maybe not identical, but mirror AI to Isaac that obviously the SHD use. The Rogues use Anna as their AI. And in Compromised, we see the agents lose access to Isaac. They lose access to all of that stuff. And so they find a way to hack into and use Anna for their own purposes. And that was just so awesome to see because that's something that we've been wanting in the game for so long. So just to finally see a perspective on it and see it happen in some form was so gratifying. It was such a neat detail that she had a bit more personality and quips to her than Isaac does. Like, there was just everything about it was so cool, and I loved that whole interaction and portion of the novel. The final confrontation in this was also just super cool. I wanted to point that out. I love that both books have ended with a big not necessarily battle, but just confrontation with rogues, because I think rogues and hunters pretty much are the end game, threat in the Division world. And so every time we get a new perspective or just a new instance of that happening, it's so cool. I love the Rogues portrayal in this on that battleship. That was so cool. Like, it was just great. But there are two very specific things that we have to talk about here that I really wanted to get into. The first one was a line that happened midway through the book, and I think it has a huge amount of significance towards what we could be seeing in the future of the Division 2 story. Obviously, if you didn't know, these novels and these stories are canon to the world of the Division overall, and specifically the Division Division 2. And in Season 10 recently, we had a reference to something that happened in the first book here of Recruited. Now, obviously, Compromise takes place way after the Division 2 is currently set, so we'll eventually catch up to these events. But there was a line that was thrown in there that really had me questioning what we could be seeing in the future of the Division 2. And this is what it said. The Division had lost all legal authority back in November when they'd been ordered to shut down operations. That's not a small detail. The Division Compromise takes place in April of what would be, I don't know, the following year after when the Division 2 is set in the summer, so a good, 9 months, right? Given we got that reference to Recruited in the recent Target of Lucky in the Division 2 Season 10, that would mean the Division 2 is currently taking place in September-ish. So supposedly, 2 months after the events of where we're currently at in the Division 2, we're going to lose all legal authority and be ordered to shut down operations. By who? Under what circumstances? I have no idea, but that line just had me questioning so much what we could be seeing in the near future. So yeah, I don't have any clues or insight or idea as to what that could mean, but I definitely wanted to point that out because I think it was super, super interesting. And then, if you've read it, you knew we were going to talk about this. We have to talk about that epilogue. So obviously the basic setup is that at the very end of the confrontation with the rogues on the battleship, there's an explosion. The rest of the cell thinks that Myra has died, or at least that's what's implied. And because they don't find her, and she's down below when that explosion occurs. And we get that last chapter where they're starting to move on. But then we get this epilogue where we see that Myra has indeed lived, and she's in a new location. Somebody has saved her, and she's in this hospital. Everything is super weird. You don't really know what's going on. The first kind of clue that you get that not everything is great is that the person who's with her lies to her about the status of the rest of the cell. He tells her that they have all died. So currently, both Myra and Leo and Colin and the rest of them think that she is dead. They both think that each other are dead. But then you get to that final line there, and I'll read what it says. This is that guy that's talking to her. He says, "Oh, absolutely, Miss Conhigh. Please relax and rest. Don't worry at all. You're in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security. This is the safest place in the world." Chills. Absolute chills. And again, if we didn't have Season 9 of the Division 2, if they didn't do these tie-ins, we wouldn't know the significance. And if you're not entirely sure on what the significance of that is, it's that in Season 9, we learn that the Department of Homeland Security are the ones that are running the Hunters. They're the ones who established and are still currently running the Hunter program. So the epilogue for the Division Compromise is that our main character of Myra is in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security. They are lying to her about the status of her cell, indicating that they want to either initiate her into the Hunter program or use her in some capacity in that thing. And that is so thrilling. And this is why I said that we need a third book. Can you imagine if half the, I assume that part of the story will still take place with the rest of the cell and them kind of finding out what's happening, but if part of the story is from Myra's point of view and she is being initiated into this society, into this Hunter program, seeing what goes on behind the scenes, talking to other members who are Hunters themselves, we have never, ever gotten any sort of insight into what that could look like, and it would be so thrilling and so fascinating to get that point of view. So I am hoping, beyond belief, that we get a third entry to the Crossroads saga here. I know Thomas said in his interview with myself that he has always kind of envisioned this as a trilogy, and so I am just so hopeful that he gets to finish that trilogy out. It's so awesome that these books are covering the ground that they are. It's awesome that they let Thomas kind of tackle that aspect of Homeland Security and the Hunters. I would just so love to see what is going to happen next in this story. And between that mention of whatever's going to happen in November, the Hunter stuff here, there's so many exciting possibilities, so many awesome things and questions that this book sets up. It was just fantastic. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts about The Division Compromised, everybody. Whether you have already read the novel or maybe you don't plan to, but you just wanted to hear kind of my thoughts on this. What do you think about these huge revelations that we heard in the book? Whether it be some of those payoffs of stuff like Anna, that was super awesome. What do you think about that quote about what's going to happen in November? What do you think that's referring to? And what do you think about this big setup in the epilogue that Myra is now in the hands of Homeland Security and the Hunter program? Do you think, given we get a third book, we're going to see her initiated into that? Do you think we're going to get more details about what goes on inside there? There's so much that could do and that Thomas could do, and I just so hope that we get to see that one day down the road. But that is going to do it for me today, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold. Ow.